When Ethan Carter left his small hometown 2 years earlier, he carried little more than a worn backpack and a promise to his late father. "Never sell the land, son," his father had whispered from his hospital bed. "It's not valuable because of money. It's valuable because it's where kindness always began." At the time, Ethan hadn't fully understood. The land was just a neglected 5-acre field on the edge of town. The old farmhouse had collapsed years before, weeds covered most of the property, and everyone thought he should sell it to developers. But he couldn't. Life took Ethan across the country, where he worked long shifts on construction sites, saving every dollar to pay off his father's medical debts. 2 years passed without him returning home. Not once. When the debts were finally cleared, he packed his truck and drove back, eager to see the land again. As he turned onto the familiar dirt road, he frowned. The rusty gate was gone. In its place stood a beautifully crafted wooden entrance with a simple sign: Hope Community Garden. Ethan slammed on the brakes. What is this? His heart raced. Had someone stolen his property? He parked quickly and walked through the gate. Instead of wild weeds, rows of vegetables stretched across the field. Tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, beans, pumpkins, and fruit trees flourished under the morning sun. Children laughed while watering plants. An elderly man trimmed roses. A young mother harvested vegetables with her little daughter. Everything looked peaceful. But it was his land. Before he could speak, a gray-haired woman noticed him. She froze. Then her eyes widened. "You're Ethan, aren't you?" He nodded cautiously. "Yes." Tears filled her eyes. "He's back." Within minutes, several people gathered around him. Ethan felt overwhelmed. "I don't understand," he admitted. "Who gave permission to use my property?" The group exchanged nervous glances. Finally, an elderly pastor stepped forward. "No one gave permission," he confessed quietly. "We intended to ask, but then life became complicated." Ethan crossed his arms. "So everyone just decided to take my land?" The pastor lowered his head. "We're sorry." Before Ethan could respond, a little girl walked toward him holding a basket of fresh strawberries. She couldn't have been older than 7. She smiled. "Would you like some? We always share." Ethan accepted one without thinking. "They're sweet," he admitted. She beamed proudly. "My mommy says kindness tastes sweeter than sugar." Her words caught him off guard. The pastor invited Ethan to sit beneath a large oak tree. "There are things you should know." He explained that after Ethan left, the town suffered. The local food pantry closed. Several families lost their jobs. Many elderly residents couldn't afford groceries. One day, a volunteer noticed Ethan's abandoned field. Instead of letting it become another patch of weeds, neighbors worked together. Everyone donated something. Seeds. Tools. Water hoses. Labor. No one earned money. Every vegetable grown was freely shared with struggling families. No one kept track of who gave or who received. The only rule was simple. If you harvest today, help someone tomorrow. Ethan listened silently. Then the pastor added something unexpected. "We never forgot whose land this was." He handed Ethan a thick envelope. Inside were hundreds of handwritten letters. Every family that received food had written one. Some thanked the unknown owner. Others promised to repay the kindness someday. One letter simply read, "Because this garden fed my children, they never went to bed hungry." Another said, "My husband died last winter. These vegetables kept me alive." A third came from a teenager. "I learned gardening here instead of joining the wrong crowd. Thank you." Ethan struggled to speak. They thought. I allowed this?" The pastor nodded. "We believed your father's kindness lived on through you." Ethan looked across the field. He remembered something from childhood. His father had often filled baskets with vegetables from their small garden and secretly left them on neighbors' porches before sunrise. Whenever Ethan asked why, his father always smiled. Real kindness doesn't wait for applause. Suddenly, everything made sense. The land had never been about farming. It had always been about people. Still, Ethan asked the difficult question. What would have happened if I'd sold the property? Silence spread across the garden. Finally, the gray-haired woman answered softly. We would have understood. But this place would have disappeared. Ethan walked alone through the rows of vegetables. He noticed handmade signs painted by children. Take only what you need. Leave enough for someone else. Kindness grows here. Near the back of the property stood a freshly planted apple tree. A wooden plaque rested beneath it. In memory of James Carter, who believed every hungry neighbor deserved a full table. That was his father. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. No one told me. The pastor smiled gently. We didn't know how to reach you. For a long moment, Ethan stared at the plaque. Then he laughed quietly through his tears. You've all been worrying that I'd ask you to leave? Several people nodded nervously. Instead, Ethan turned toward everyone gathered nearby. I have one condition. The crowd became silent. He smiled. We make this garden even bigger. Confused faces quickly turned into hopeful ones. I'm not selling this land. I'm donating it. Gasps spread through the crowd. Legally, Ethan continued. This property will belong to a community trust. No developer will ever build here. The little girl who had offered him strawberries clapped first. Soon everyone joined. Some cried openly. Others hugged one another. But Ethan wasn't finished. I spent 2 years saving money. He revealed the savings he'd planned to use to renovate the old property. Instead, we'll build greenhouses. A learning center. A free kitchen. And a small library where children can study after school. The applause echoed across the field. Months later, volunteers transformed the land into something extraordinary. The garden doubled in size. High school students learned agriculture. Retired teachers offered free tutoring. Doctors organized monthly health clinics. Families shared meals every weekend. Visitors from neighboring towns came to learn how kindness could unite an entire community. One autumn afternoon, Ethan stood beneath the old oak tree watching children harvest pumpkins. A reporter approached him. You're giving away valuable land worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, she said. Don't you feel you've sacrificed too much? Ethan smiled as he looked across the garden. An elderly widow laughed with teenagers. Young parents filled baskets with fresh vegetables. Children chased butterflies between the flowers. His father's apple tree swayed gently in the breeze. He answered quietly. I came back expecting to reclaim my land. He paused. Instead, I discovered it had already become something far more valuable. The reporter asked, what was that? Ethan looked at the people whose lives had become intertwined on the once-forgotten field. A place where kindness took root. And unlike crops, he said with a smile, kindness never stops growing.